Sound example was a gravity pick and did REO 1253 phosphor bronze, standard set, non-coated. Okay, SC13E, I've had it for about 4.5 years. Be doing a lot of talking in this video. Just want to let everybody know about my experiences, and then I want to share like a personal opinionated story. This won't apply to everybody. But let's go over some of its appointments. You got the MXT system, not the most popular Fishman system in the world, but I do love the tuner. The tuner's right there beside the pick guard. It's inside the hole. I love its location. Not crazy about the lack of options that you have on the EQ. Don't really have an EQ. I mean, you kind of have an EQ. You got an ebony bridge or a select hardwood bridge, depending on the model. I think mine's ebony. You got an ebony fingerboard. You got a select hardwood neck. I don't know what that means. You got a koa veneer back and sides and a solid Sitka spruce top. You got a 25.4 inch scale length. That's from the Tusk, the GRAPTEC Tusk saddle to the GRAPTEC Tusk nut. And I replaced the pick guard because I didn't like the red tortoiseshell alongside the celestial type of rosette, like the blue and white stuff. And that's also featured on the 12th fret. That's aesthetical stuff that doesn't really matter. That kind of stuff didn't really draw me to the guitar. I like the guitar because of that sure line neck that it has. And I don't really know why, because I barely get, I may go to the 14th or the 15th every once in a while, but I rarely get up here. But you can get up here, it's possible. It's very possible to play the higher frets. So, yeah, I fell in love with this guitar first sight, and it's been a wonderful guitar. And really, man, that could be the review in short. So if you've had enough of me, then that's it, man. I love the guitar. If you're on the fence about buying one, the only suggestion I really have is check out the SC10 versions, because they've got some solid wood versions that have GRAPTEC ratio tuners on them instead of the Grover open back tuners. And there's nothing wrong with the Grover open back tuners, but the GRAPTEC ratio tuners are a little bit more usable, and they hold a guitar in tune just fine. I've got a set of those on another guitar we'll talk about later. Anyway, this guitar has been wonderful. So wonderful that, I was just, the stigma of having an American Martin versus an import. I don't have any prejudice as to where a guitar is made or anything else for that matter. I kind of like to own things from which the company is headquartered. Say Alvarez. We'll take Alvarez for an example. Alvarez is owned by St. Louis Music, and St. Louis is like 4 hours from home. If they had an American-made guitar, I'd probably be interested in it. Since they don't, I like Alvarez started off in Japan. That's where I want my Alvarezes built at. It's because it's where they started off. St. Louis Music first developed Alvarez, they went to Japan to look for people to make these guitars for them. Wise, if you ask me. So they started off in Japan, and they still make some guitars in Japan. I mean, Alvarez doesn't, but the Yari factory does in Gifu. And that's a 6-man team, man, and they're hand building guitars. And you can use Alvarez Yari for for about this price or lower. Several on the used market that won't break the bank. I'm watching a couple on Reverb as we speak for $600-700. They're great guitars for what they are. They're great guitars, period. Not for what they are. So is this guitar. This guitar is phenomenal. I've never regretted buying this guitar, but I've always had the itch. You know, like when I bought this guitar, this was the only SC Martin made. They didn't make one in America. They didn't make the SC10. The only one they made was the SC13, and it come like this. There was no sunburst options on the specials or any of that stuff because there wasn't a special. When I bought this guitar, this is the only SC that was being produced. So this is the grandfather of the SC body style. Like it, love it, hate it, leave it, whatever. But like this is the original, right? So like there is that stigma too. It's like, you know, like it's kind of cool to own the original model no matter where it's made. So I bounce that logic around my head as well. But I'd love to own another American Martin. I say another because I've owned a few in the past. I don't own any right now, but in the past I have owned some American Martins. Most of them were the X series that weren't not the greatest guitars, not bad, but not the greatest guitars. This is light years ahead of that. So if you own X series that was made in America from the early 2000s or the late 90s, whenever those things were made, I didn't keep up with it. Most of them that I bought used off of people, or I acquired them in a trade. Those weren't bad guitars, but they, you know, these are light years ahead of those as far as quality, comfort, all that stuff. Speaking of comfort, it's got a 16-inch radius fingerboard. I think that is ebony, if I didn't already say that. Sorry if I did. Got the Sureline neck. Did we already go over that? I think we did. Very nice contour. Very nice contour. They got a name for it. Low profile velocity neck with a high performance taper. Sounds fancy. Whatever they call it, it works. I like it. Anyway, let's get into the story. Story goes like this, man. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. 2025, there is a relaunch of the 00017. This time it's a 14 fret guitar, so that might as well be an OM 17, which would get me in that bracket. That's the guitar. That's the guitar that's built for me as far as the price range. It's like $2,000. Comes with a hard shell case, right up my book, man. It's got a satin top. I think they have a Torify top, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I looked at the specs on those guitars. So I'm a truck driver. Carry this guitar a lot, you know, with me a lot, and I like the fact that it's laminated, or not laminated. Martin will come to your house and correct you in person. This is Koa veneer, like fine Koa veneer, back and sides. By the way, Sika top. I don't know if I covered that. I got ADD, sorry. But the story is like I travel around a lot, and so I was able to put my hands on dozens of 00017s. Some at guitar centers, some at other establishments that were, you know, like one-offs, like mom and pop shops and stuff like that. Man, those guitars are like nothing short of a disgrace. You know, like almost every one of them that I've picked up have sharp frets and feel unfinished. The quality is, I mean, I don't even know what to compare it to anymore. You know, in the 90s, I would have compared it to like a cheaper Epiphone or something like that. I'm not saying they sound bad, because they don't. Almost any guitar can sound good. I've got a Sakova that I spent $100 on from a pawn shop. 1971, made in Japan. OM body style. Sounds phenomenal. Plays like shit, you know? And that's kind of how this one feels too, man. I mean, like the 000, not this one, but the 00017. So, like, I wanted to upgrade, and what am I upgrading to? So I had a discussion with my wife about being very disappointed in the 00017, and she was like, well, what's the next step up? Next step up is 00018, right? Or a OM18. So I picked up a few OM18s. I even played some of the older 00015s. I think those were 12 fret guitars, if I'm not mistaken. Nothing wrong with that. Just, you know, it's a little limited, but it also has a different sound because of the, you know, where the guitar meets the body. So like, there's some give and take there, pros and cons. The pros of this guitar, man, you know, like it plays wonderful. It's comfortable. sounds pretty decent, especially for a thinner body guitar. I'm not saying it's a thin body, exactly like a thin body, but it's thinner than a full thickness, full size OEM. Now the space on the top, like supposedly there's as many square inches on this soundboard as there is an OM. Like, so you're supposed to be able to get comparable decibels. And speaking of decibels, whether it matters or not, 76, give or take, like one, depending on how I'm strumming, and you know, that's about 18 inches. Anyway, that's something I measure, but like, I guess that would be a con, you know, because like you're getting the decibels, but it doesn't sound as full as some of the other guitars, especially a Dreadnought or something like that. But like, that's not what this guitar was built to be. It wasn't built to be a Dreadnought. You want a Dreadnought? There's plenty of them out there, right? But, you know, I'm happy with what this guitar provides. I really am. I just kind of wanted to, you know, to upgrade to an American. And the OM18 wasn't any better than this. You know, like I spent some time with some OM18s, and they're not any better than this. Like which means that they're great guitars, but they're hellaciously more expensive. Like I think, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say the OM18 was somewhere around the $3,000 point, like $2,900. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize. Just correct me. But that memory, you know, suits me best. So in order to be able to get an upgrade, I had to go to OM28. I'm not doing it. I think that was I think that's the one I played that was like $4,200. You know, like, and like say, and that kind of makes sense because the SC13E is $39.99. You know, like, so I think I got those series right and the prices. You know, like, but I do know like the Dreadnoughts are a little cheaper because they probably build way more of them and sell more of them, and you know, operation cost is probably down a little bit. So you save a few $100 if you want to D any of those numbers. Anyway, like, it kind of leaves you with the conundrum of like, where do you go from here? You know, like if you I want a Mexican Martin, and I think this is about the best Mexican Martin you can buy. I've played several Road Series guitars. They're not all built this way, you know, like, and I don't think mine's special, you know, not at all. Like, I have played several of these that were sitting in stores, and like I said, I think it's like the third time I've recorded this, so like, yeah, they all feel right at home. So like, these seem to be very consistent, and some of the other Road Series guitars are hit and miss. You know, like you don't really know what you're gonna get. You know, like you just play them, right? See if they're appeasing. But I think it's kind of this is an opinion too, but I think it's kind of a slap in the face that they come out with the SC10 version, charge $600 less for it, and offer a hard shell case with it. Some of them being solid wood construction. Like they got a couple that are solid wood construction. Now I like the veneer. I do. I like the idea of veneer. And your basic SC10 is veneer. It's $9.99. And got some different colors going on. I think it's black and white instead of blue and white. But yeah, you get an SC10 like Sapele guitar, solid Sapele, like not veneer, you know, back and sides. It's supposed to be solid wood construction, or that's at least how it's advertised at Guitar Center, especially. Yeah, it's $9.99 too, and it comes with a hard shell case if available. It depends on availability, is what they say. Man, you know, I bought this guitar, and you know, I call them up and I'm like, hey, now that you guys are making hard shell cases for this guitar, how much is that? A hard shell case for this guitar is almost $400. That's like $379, $389, something like that. After taxes, it'll be over $400. So if they're getting a hard shell case with a SC10, they cost $9.99. That is a deliberate slap in the face. What, you know, I say deliberate. It's deliberate whether they realize it or not. I know that's an oxymoron, but it's kind of a, you're like, it's like, fuck all you guys for spending your, more money and getting less. And speaking of less, if you get a hard wood, or if you get a solid wood construction SC10, you also get GUOTAR tuners. So where do you go from here? How do you upgrade? If I want to get in the OM family, how do you upgrade that guitar? The guitar that you already have, and especially if you want something American made. I don't know. I don't know if there's any reasonable options out there. Part of it's going to be me having to get out of the mindset that I don't want to spend $3,000-$4,000 for a guitar if I want an American acoustic, and that's perfectly reasonable. I'm 42 years old, so I remember when you can go pick up an American Strat for $500. GUOTAR tuners, the ratio tuners, like you see this used in the back of the headstock. I got this at a deep discount, but we're going to use it as an example. It's a wonderful guitar. This guitar got stamp used. It's B stock because of the case had a scratch on it. Like, I'll screw the entire guitar up because of the case. Anyway, the ratio tuners supposed to operate, where if you want to go down a whole step on a string, you turn it down back into the position that it's in right now. Like, that's how that's supposed to work. It's a Washburn. You'll get a lot of hate in the comments. That's fine. Solid mahogany, 1050, brand new. It is discontinued, so like there's not a lot of them out there. But solid mahogany, back and sides, and top, and that's a torrified top. It's got a lot of lacquer on it, but it's a torrified top. And I did replace the pick guard on this one too. It's got a, a Fishman Precis blend system on it, which is actually like, better than the MXT for live performances. You got a microphone and a piezo in here. And I picked this thing up for $300 on Reverb. It was used, like it was a used guitar, so heavily discounted. But man, I'm incredibly happy with this guitar. We'll talk about this guitar more when we do the video on this guitar. But this is a wonderful guitar. Solid, bone, real bone, nut and saddle. X bracing. Nicer tuners, nicer electronics. And it's made in China, for sure. Comes with a hard shell case, 1050. Lots of examples on Reverb. That's a HG 120 SWEK, SWEK. And speaking of which, it went through the Plect system. Something, it was set up with the Plect thing, with nice low action. You can't get up to the frets, so like, that's really, that guitar is designed differently, for different purposes than the SC anyway. But I felt like that was my best option. It was like, after playing several OM style guitars, and I mean, Eastman, has options out there. I found out like a lot of the Eastmans that I was liking were built in China. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Lots changed, man, over the years. So like, China's putting out some pretty good stuff. It's hard to, it might be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of us, but I've got older friends that, it's America or nothing, and I get it, I do, and like, I love my American made stuff, but you can't deny where the quality's at. Like, that thing didn't come with sharp frets, and none of them that I've ever played in any stores have felt like they were less than finished. I'm speaking of the Washburn now, and so like for $10.50, you can still get them. They were discontinued in 2020, and for 5 years later, you can still get them brand new on Amazon for some reason, and some other websites may have them as well. And I'm not telling you to go that way, but that's the direction I'm going for now. Like, as far as the upgrade goes, like I honestly think that Washburn is every bit as a guitar as OM28. Yeah, maybe more. I don't know, but Every OM28 that I've played, none of them have played any better or sounded any better than this guitar. You want torrefied tops and stuff like that with Martin. You get that with OM28, gets you a nice torrefied top. I don't know what they call it, you know, that specific guitar on the OM, but in the Dreadnought, I think they call it a HD. You know, that'll have the Adirondack spruce top on it, you know, and it'll be torrefied, and you know, I don't know, but I mean, this is solid mahogany. It sounds darker, but you know, it don't sound too dark. Just so you know, just in case you don't make it back to the next video, I'll play the same thing as an outro that I played as an intro on the SC. Anyway, thanks for watching. Give me your opinions, you know, like, let me know your train of thought on things, because I mean, I feel like we all have, you know, the right to have an opinion. Am I alone, you know, in my thoughts and feelings on the Martin? Is the entire American market suffering? I constantly hear things, read things on, you know, like Reddit, where people have bought, you know, like ordered, you know, brand new Gibsons online, and they're like, man, this ain't as good as my master built. And of course, that's hard to believe, right? But is it anymore? Like, I don't know. I mean, you know, like, if you got testimonies, I want to hear about them. You know, link me to some good videos with anybody else that happens to have a testimony on that guitar. You won't see a lot of videos from me. I only own so many guitars. So we'll come around when we got something to say.